Nobody expected NBA YoungBoy to react to this, especially not when the moment was this raw, this emotional, and this public. Cenat breaking down on stream over his ex cheating wasn't just another viral clip for laughs. It was uncomfortable, real, and hard to watch. Millions tuned in as Kai, usually loud, joking, and unbreakable, sat there visibly hurt, struggling to process betrayal in real time. The internet did what it always does: memes, jokes, hot takes. But behind the screens, something deeper was happening. And then NBA YoungBoy stepped in. YoungBoy, an artist known for his own history of pain, trust issues, and emotional scars, didn't react the way people expected. No jokes, no clout chasing, no dismissive comments. Instead, his response hit different, and that's exactly why fans couldn't stop talking about it. Coming from someone who's been through public heartbreak, legal chaos, and non-stop scrutiny, his words carried weight. This wasn't just rapper commentary. It felt like someone who understood what it means to be embarrassed, betrayed, and exposed while the world watches. What made this moment explode even more was the contrast. Kai represents the new internet era, streaming everything, showing emotions live, letting fans into personal pain. YoungBoy represents survival through silence, aggression, and isolation. Two completely different worlds colliding over one universal issue: heartbreak. And suddenly, this wasn't about cheating anymore. It became a conversation about masculinity, vulnerability, loyalty, and how men are expected to react when they are hurt. Fans immediately started choosing sides. Some praised Kai for being open and honest. Others said he should have handled it privately. Some were shocked YoungBoy even addressed it at all, especially with the tone he used. But one thing was clear. This reaction added a whole new layer to the story, turning a painful live stream into a moment that sparked real discussion across hip-hop and streaming culture. So the question now isn't just why Kai broke down, or why his ex cheated. It's why YoungBoy's reaction resonated so hard. What did he say that made people stop joking and start listening? And what does this moment reveal about how fame, love, and pain collide when everything happens in front of an audience that never logs off? What made this situation hit so hard was how unexpectedly personal it became. Cenat didn't plan for the world to see him unravel. One moment he was live, doing what he always does, joking with chat, reacting to clips, keeping the energy high. Then the truth slipped out. Messages surfaced, details connected, and suddenly the mask cracked. His voice changed, his posture collapsed, and for the first time in a long time, viewers weren't watching a streamer. They were watching a young man realize, in real time, that someone he trusted had betrayed him. For Kai, the pain wasn't just about cheating. It was about humiliation. Streaming turns private emotions into public property, and once that moment went live, there was no taking it back. The chat spammed emotes, jokes, and reactions faster than he could process his own thoughts. Some viewers tried to comfort him. Others clipped the breakdown instantly, knowing it would spread everywhere. Within minutes, the moment was no longer his. It belonged to the internet. That's where the story took a sharp turn. Because while most people expected rappers and celebrities to clown Kai or stay silent, NBA YoungBoy's name suddenly entered the conversation. Fans started tagging him, asking how he felt, predicting he'd dismiss it or say something reckless. After all, YoungBoy's image has long been tied to emotional distance, aggression, and a hard exterior shaped by years of trauma, broken relationships, and constant pressure. But when his reaction surfaced, it didn't sound like what people were ready for. Instead of mocking Kai, YoungBoy's response felt reflective, almost heavy. It came across like someone who's lived through the same kind of betrayal, but without a camera rolling. Someone who understands how trust can collapse overnight and leave you questioning everything. His words weren't polished or motivational, but they carried a quiet honesty that fans immediately picked up on. It wasn't sympathy for clout. It felt like recognition. That reaction forced people to reframe the entire situation. Suddenly, Kai wasn't just the streamer who got cheated on. He became a symbol of something bigger. What happens when vulnerability meets non-stop exposure? YoungBoy, of all people, became the unexpected voice reminding everyone that pain doesn't care how rich, famous, or funny you are. Social media shifted gears almost instantly. Clips of Kai crying were now paired with quotes from YoungBoy. Comment sections stopped laughing and started debating. Some people admitted they related more than they wanted to. Others talked about how men are taught to hide pain, especially in public, and how brutal it can be when that armor fails. The moment evolved from gossip into a cultural conversation. At the same time, criticism didn't disappear. There were still voices saying Kai should have handled it offline, that streaming personal relationships is dangerous, that this is the price of putting your life on display. And those points weren't wrong, but they missed something important. Nobody chooses when betrayal hits. Kai didn't schedule heartbreak for content. It happened to him, live, because that's where his life exists now. YoungBoy's involvement made that truth harder to ignore. This wasn't about drama anymore. It was about empathy from an unexpected place. Fans who once saw YoungBoy as cold or reckless started reanalyzing his past lyrics, his interviews, his long history of distrust and emotional isolation. They realized he wasn't reacting as a celebrity. He was reacting as someone who's been hurt too many times to joke about it. And that's why this moment stuck. Two worlds collided: streaming and rap, vulnerability and survival, openness and guarded silence. Kai showed what it looks like to break publicly. YoungBoy showed what it looks like to recognize that pain without exploiting it. Together, even unintentionally, they exposed how thin the line is between entertainment and real life when millions are watching. By the time the clip stopped trending, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a viral breakdown or a rapper's reaction. It was a reminder that fame doesn't protect you from betrayal. It just makes the fall louder. And for everyone watching, the question lingered. In a world that never logs off, where do you go when your heart breaks in front of everyone? As the fallout from Cenat's livestream breakdown spread, the story quickly evolved beyond a simple cheating scandal. It became a larger discussion about vulnerability, masculinity, and the pressures of living life under the lens of public scrutiny. Kai, who had always thrived on high-energy streams, reactions, and humor, was now confronted with the reality that some experiences, especially betrayal, cannot be shielded by charisma or internet fame. For viewers, the sudden shift from laughter to heartbreak was jarring, leaving them to grapple with their own responses: empathy, judgment, or voyeuristic fascination. Fans immediately began dissecting the live stream, analyzing every facial expression, pause, and tear. Clips circulated on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, each edited for maximum shock value. Some commentators framed it as a cautionary tale about oversharing personal relationships online, while others debated whether public figures like Kai even have the right to privacy when their lives are monetized in real time. In many ways, the discourse mirrored a growing cultural dilemma: how much of our personal pain can, or should, exist in a world addicted to instant content? The tension intensified when NBA YoungBoy's reaction emerged. Known for his own turbulent past and history of public heartbreak, YoungBoy's response was not dismissive or mocking as many had predicted. Instead, he expressed a rare, measured acknowledgement of what Kai was going through. YoungBoy's reaction was layered, empathetic but wary, personal yet restrained. It felt like a man who had endured betrayal and understood the nuances of heartbreak, speaking directly to someone experiencing it for the first time on such a public stage. This was not celebrity commentary designed for clicks. It was lived experience translating into words, and fans immediately recognized the difference. This unexpected layer reframed the narrative. Suddenly, the story was not just about a cheating scandal. It was about the intersection of fame, vulnerability, and emotional survival. Kai's public reaction became a lens through which audiences examined larger issues: the emotional toll of internet fame, the societal expectations of masculinity, and the double standard applied to men showing pain. In many ways, YoungBoy's response validated the idea that public breakdowns are not inherently weak. They are human. The moment sparked conversations about how men, particularly black men in high-visibility industries, are often denied the space to process and express hurt without judgment. Social media users didn't just react. They reflected. Fans related to the heartbreak, the betrayal, and the vulnerability, connecting it to their own personal experiences. Others analyzed the cultural pressure on public figures to maintain composure, projecting strength even when internally breaking. The clips of Kai's livestream paired with YoungBoy's acknowledgement circulated as a counter-narrative to the usual memes and jokes. People began asking, can men be emotional publicly without being ridiculed? Can vulnerability coexist with fame without exploitation? And what responsibilities do peers and contemporaries, like YoungBoy, have in acknowledging that vulnerability without turning it into spectacle? Amid the discussion, critics and skeptics maintained their voices. Some argued that streaming such personal moments inherently invites scrutiny and that Kai needed to learn boundaries. Others pointed to the dangers of allowing public figures' emotional lives to become content, suggesting it blurs ethical lines between entertainment and human suffering. These criticisms weren't baseless, but they often overlooked the underlying trauma that made Kai's reaction so intense and relatable. Public exposure didn't create the betrayal, his ex's actions did, but the world's unfiltered gaze amplified the impact in ways few could ignore. The moment also reignited dialogue about accountability in relationships. Fans debated whether YoungBoy's response implicitly offered guidance about handling betrayal or simply reflected solidarity. His word didn't tell Kai what to do. They acknowledged what he felt, recognizing that emotional pain is valid, complex, and sometimes public. That subtlety resonated. In an online ecosystem dominated by overreactions, mockery, and performative outrage, YoungBoy's reaction stood out as quietly meaningful, proving that emotional intelligence in public spaces can exist, even in industries notorious for drama and hypermasculinity. By the end of this phase, it was clear the moment had evolved far beyond its origins. Kai's breakdown, once a source of memes and entertainment, became a focal point for discussions on mental health, vulnerability, and cultural expectations. YoungBoy's response added gravitas, serving as a counterweight to the usual spectacle and reminding audiences that emotional authenticity, even for men, deserves recognition and respect. The conversation shifted from who was right or wrong to a deeper exploration of human experience in a digital age where privacy is fleeting and every reaction is magnified. In short, this wasn't just a cheating scandal or viral breakdown. It was a cultural flashpoint. It exposed the pressures of living life online, the impact of betrayal under public scrutiny, and the rare, meaningful intervention of someone who has endured similar pain. Fans were forced to confront uncomfortable truths about empathy, judgment, and the way society treats vulnerability, especially when it comes from men who are not allowed to cry or show weakness. And as the discussion continued, one thing became unmistakably clear. This story had layers that went far beyond gossip. It revealed the intersection of human emotion, fame, and digital culture in ways that will echo long after the clips stopped trending. The aftermath of Cenat's emotional breakdown continued to ripple across the internet. But as the days passed, the story evolved from surface-level gossip into a deeper conversation about human vulnerability in the age of streaming and social media fame. What began as a viral clip of a man dealing with heartbreak in real time became something far more meaningful. A cultural lens through which fans, commentators, and fellow artists examined the pressures of public life, emotional exposure, and the expectations placed on men in the spotlight. Kai, who built his brand on humor, energy, and the ability to entertain millions, suddenly found himself stripped of his usual armor. The jokes and high-energy persona that his audience loved had no place in this moment. As he sat there, visibly hurt and struggling to process the betrayal, viewers witnessed a rare instance of raw human emotion. The public nature of the breakdown amplified every feeling, every pause, every tear, making it impossible for anyone to look away. Social media, as expected, was divided. Some users expressed empathy, relating to the pain on a personal level, while others criticized him for sharing such an intimate moment in a public space. But the truth was undeniable. He had no way to hide from the magnitude of the moment once it went live. Then came NBA YoungBoy's reaction, which added another layer entirely. Known for his own turbulent personal life, legal struggles, and history of public heartbreak, YoungBoy brought a perspective that few others could. Unlike most reactions that might have been flippant or dismissive, his response carried a weight born from experience. YoungBoy didn't mock or trivialize the pain, he acknowledged it. His tone was measured but empathetic, reflecting someone who had walked a similar path and understood the mix of humiliation, heartbreak, and exposure that Kai was experiencing. For fans, T's create a shift in the Conversane's story was no longer just a dramatic clip of a streamer being cheated on. It became a lesson in emotional recognition and solidarity between two men who had lived through public pain. This moment also sparked a broader discussion about masculinity and emotional pressure. Traditionally, men in public spaces, especially those in music or entertainment, are discouraged from showing vulnerability. Tears, sadness, or visible heartbreak are often labeled as weakness. Kai's breakdown challenged that stereotype head-on. YoungBoy's response reinforced it by modeling empathy without judgment, proving that men can be emotionally expressive and still command respect. This conversation resonated beyond the immediate drama, sparking debates in comment sections, discussion threads, and viral clips about how society conditions men to suppress emotion while rewarding bravado and stoicism. The public's fascination with the incident also highlighted the complicated relationship between fame and privacy. For a streamer like Kai, his life is his content. Every reaction, every personal detail, every emotional breakdown is fodder for viewers and creators alike. This exposure can be both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it provides attention, opportunities, and influence. On the other, it magnifies every mistake and betrayal. This duality became central to the discussion as people debated whether streaming heartbreak is inherently problematic or simply a reflection of the realities of modern fame. Critics continued to argue that Kai should have handled the situation privately, emphasizing the risks of oversharing in a world where screenshots and clips can travel endlessly. Supporters, however, countered that vulnerability is not inherently wrong and that shame should not be attached to human emotion, especially in a medium that monetizes personality and transparency. YoungBoy's measured acknowledgement of Kai's pain validated this perspective, providing a subtle reminder that emotional authenticity can coexist with fame, and that processing heartbreak publicly does not diminish a person's strength or value. At the same time, the incident sparked a wider reflection on interpersonal trust and accountability. The conversation moved beyond the individual moment and touched on universal themes: betrayal, emotional honesty, and the difficulty of maintaining relationships when life is lived under public scrutiny. Fans began to analyze not just Kai's response, but also their own expectations of public figures. How much empathy are we willing to offer when someone shows weakness? How often do we mistake exposure for manipulation? And when someone like YoungBoy steps in with understanding, how does it redefine what public emotional support can look like? By this stage, the viral moment had become a cultural case study. Kai's pain, YoungBoy's empathy, and the reactions of millions of fans highlighted the complex ecosystem of modern fame. One where vulnerability is both weaponized and celebrated, where personal trauma is public currency, and where emotional intelligence can be as impactful as any viral clip. The story was no longer just about cheating or heartbreak. It had become a reflection of how society navigates human emotion in an era of constant visibility. Ultimately, this chapter of the saga left a lasting impression. It forced audiences to reconsider assumptions about masculinity, the responsibilities of public figures, and the ethics of watching someone's pain unfold in real time. Cenat's heartbreak, paired with NBA YoungBoy's unexpected and thoughtful response, created a moment that transcended gossip. It reminded the world that fame doesn't shield anyone from betrayal, but empathy and the courage to acknowledge human emotion can offer a path toward understanding, even in the harshest spotlight. This wasn't just another viral incident. It was a cultural reflection, a lesson in vulnerability, and a conversation that would resonate far beyond the streams themselves. As the saga between Cenat and NBA YoungBoy continued to unfold, the conversation around vulnerability, fame, and public scrutiny deepened. What started as a shocking moment of raw emotion on Kai's livestream had grown into a larger cultural dialogue, raising questions about masculinity, empathy, and how audiences interact with public figures who reveal their personal struggles. The initial shock of seeing Kai break down had worn off, but the implications of the moment were far from over. Kai's breakdown was no longer viewed simply as a personal failure or an embarrassing moment. It became a case study in emotional exposure. Many fans began analyzing the live stream with nuance, considering the unique pressures faced by individuals who operate their personal lives as public content. The betrayal he experienced was one thing, but experiencing it live, with millions of eyes scrutinizing every expression, turned private pain into an unavoidable spectacle. This amplified scrutiny forced a reflection not just on Kai's choices, but on the structural pressures of internet fame. In an environment where content is king and vulnerability sells, viewers were forced to confront their complicity in the monetization of someone's emotional suffering. The way NBA YoungBoy responded added an entirely new dimension to the narrative. Known for his own turbulent personal life, his public image as a hard and guarded man often contrasts sharply with his rare moments of vulnerability in interviews or songs. By acknowledging Kai's pain without mocking or minimizing it, YoungBoy challenged the stereotype that men in hip-hop or streaming culture must always mask their emotions. His reaction became a touchstone, proving that it is possible to recognize someone else's pain authentically, even in a culture that prizes toughness over tenderness. Fans responded strongly to this, praising YoungBoy for providing a perspective rooted in experience rather than spectacle. The incident sparked broader discussions about masculinity and how society judges men's emotional expression. Traditionally, men, especially young black men in entertainment, are expected to suppress feelings of hurt, betrayal, or sadness. Crying or showing vulnerability often invites ridicule, even while women displaying similar emotions are subjected to different societal expectations. Kai's livestream challenged these norms head-on. Seeing someone react so publicly to betrayal prompted audiences to question why emotional expression is so policed and unevenly criticized. YoungBoy's support reinforced this critique, offering a counter-narrative that emphasized understanding, solidarity, and the importance of validating emotional experience regardless of gender. As debates continued, many began to interrogate the intersection of fame and personal trauma. Kai's life exists online. Every reaction, every emotional breakdown, becomes content that can be clipped, shared, and monetized. While some argue this visibility is part of the trade-off for internet fame, others see it as a trap that leaves creators exposed to constant judgment. YoungBoy's acknowledgement of Kai's situation highlighted the human toll of this exposure, reminding viewers that these are real lives, not just entertainment. This layer of accountability shifted the conversation from ridicule to empathy, pushing audiences to reconsider how they engage with viral content. Critics remained vocal, insisting that oversharing personal crises carries risks and that Kai should have addressed the situation privately. Supporters countered that expecting someone to hide pain for the sake of decorum ignores the very real human need for expression and connection. In this debate, YoungBoy's reaction provided a crucial balancing point. He didn't prescribe behavior or lecture Kai. Instead, held legitimacy of his feelings, demonstrating from blame to understanding, creating a moment that transcended the usual cycles of drama. This faced scrutiny. Viral moments like Kai's breakdown are amplified culture where personal trauma becomes content. The intensity of the response, however, also allowed for deeper reflection. Millions were watching a man process betrayal in real time, forcing conversations about consent, exposure, and the ethics of online engagement. YoungBoy's presence reminded the audience that even within this ecosystem, empathy is possible and necessary. As the discussion matured, the focus shifted from individual actions to systemic patterns. Kai's livestream wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a broader trend where fame and public visibility intersect with emotional vulnerability. YoungBoy's reaction demonstrated how experienced peers could intervene in a way that validates rather than exploits. The incident became a teaching moment, illustrating how empathy, reflection, and emotional intelligence can operate in spaces typically dominated by spectacle and hypermasculinity. By this point, The saga had evolved from a single live stream into a larger conversation about fame, vulnerability, and the responsibilities of both public figures and their audiences. Kai's emotional breakdown, coupled with YoungBoy's grounded response, became a lens through which society examined the pressures of performing life online, the expectations placed on men to remain stoic, and the importance of recognizing the humanity behind viral content. This moment was no longer just entertainment. It was a mirror reflecting the intersection of emotion, exposure, and cultural norms in the digital age. Ultimately, the story left an enduring lesson. Fame amplifies emotion, but it also offers opportunities for empathy, understanding, and meaningful dialogue. Cenat's raw honesty, combined with NBA YoungBoy's measured acknowledgement, demonstrated that vulnerability does not equal weakness, and compassion can exist even in the most public, high-stakes spaces. In a world where every tear can be clipped and shared, this moment proved that human connection and understanding remain possible, even amidst chaos. The saga between Cenat and NBA YoungBoy had, by now, transformed from a single viral incident into a multi-layered cultural discussion about vulnerability, fame, and the pressures of being constantly in the public eye. What started as a shocking live stream of Kai breaking down over betrayal had evolved into a conversation about masculinity, emotional intelligence, and the responsibilities of both creators and audiences in the digital age. By the fifth phase of this story, it was clear that the implications went far beyond one cheating scandal. They were touching on systemic patterns in entertainment, social media, and public perception. Kai's livestream had captured a level of raw emotion rarely seen in internet culture. For years, he had built a persona based on humor, energy, and relentless engagement with his fans. Yet, when confronted with personal heartbreak, that persona collapsed in front of millions. The emotional vulnerability he displayed was shocking not because it was fake, but because it was real. Every pause, every tear, every moment of silence became content in itself, shared, clipped, and dissected across platforms. For Kai, there was no separating private pain from public spectacle, highlighting the unique pressures faced by creators who monetize not just their talent, but their very lives. NBA YoungBoy's reaction added a critical layer to this evolving narrative. Known for a career marked by trauma, legal struggles, and public scrutiny, YoungBoy responded in a way that defied expectations. Rather than mocking Kai or dismissing his pain, he acknowledged it. He validated the feelings of betrayal and humiliation, speaking as someone who had endured similar experiences in highly publicized ways. This response resonated deeply with fans, not only because it was unexpected, but because it modeled an alternative way of responding to public vulnerability, one rooted in empathy, understanding, and solidarity. YoungBoy's reaction served as a counterweight to the viral culture of ridicule, proving that public figures can respond to trauma with compassion rather than spectacle. The incident also reignited conversations about masculinity and emotional expression. In many cultures, men, especially young black men in entertainment, are expected to suppress emotional reactions. Crying, expressing pain, or openly reacting to betrayal is often perceived as weakness. Kai's breakdown challenged that narrative head-on, and YoungBoy's response further validated the idea that male vulnerability can exist without diminishing one's strength or credibility. The interplay between the two men illustrated a critical cultural lesson. Vulnerability is not a liability. It is a human experience that can foster connection and understanding when recognized appropriately. As the story continued to circulate online, discussions about the intersection of fame and personal trauma grew louder. Kai's life exists in a constant state of public visibility. His personal moments become content, whether he wants them to or not. The intense scrutiny amplifies every emotion, turning heartbreak into performance by default. Social media users debated whether this exposure was fair or exploitative, with some arguing that creators must learn to protect themselves, while others contended that audiences have a responsibility to respond with empathy rather than judgment. YoungBoy's measured acknowledgement highlighted the potential for mentorship and supportive peer responses, showing that influence can be used to normalize healthy emotional processing rather than exacerbate the spectacle. Critics continued to voice opinions that Kai should have handled the situation privately, highlighting the risks of sharing intimate details online. Supporters argued that suppressing emotion is unrealistic and harmful, especially in a space where personality and authenticity are central to one's brand. YoungBoy's role in the discussion reinforced this perspective. He didn't lecture or scold. He simply recognized and validated the experience. This response subtly reframed the narrative, shifting it from blame to understanding, from shame to solidarity. In doing so, it encouraged viewers to consider the broader human context behind viral moments, rather than reducing them to memes or punchlines. The wider cultural conversation began to focus on ethical considerations around fame, exposure, and emotional labor. Streaming and content creation often blur the lines between private and public life, creating an environment where personal crises are magnified for entertainment. This incident forced audiences to grapple with uncomfortable questions. How much exposure is too much? How do we navigate compassion for public figures without exploiting their pain? What responsibilities do viewers, peers, and platforms have in ensuring that vulnerability is acknowledged without being weaponized? YoungBoy's response offered a model for engaging with these questions, demonstrating that empathy and understanding can coexist with the realities of public life. By this phase, the story had taken on systemic dimensions. Cenat's breakdown was no longer just about a cheating scandal. It represented the pressures of living life online, where trust is fragile, emotions are amplified, and mistakes are permanent. YoungBoy's involvement emphasized that experience and empathy can guide public reactions in ways that challenge the usual cycles of mockery and judgment. Together, their interaction sparked reflection not only among fans but also within the broader entertainment community, highlighting the need for compassion and emotional intelligence in spaces often dominated by spectacle and drama. Ultimately, this saga left lasting lessons about vulnerability, accountability, and the impact of public scrutiny. Cenat's emotional honesty revealed the human cost of life lived online, while NBA YoungBoy's thoughtful response demonstrated how empathy can interrupt cycles of ridicule and misunderstanding. The conversation around this incident transcended gossip. It became a mirror for society to examine how fame, gender expectations, and digital culture intersect, and how audiences can engage with real human emotion responsibly. In the end, the story wasn't just about heartbreak or betrayal. It was about the possibilities for understanding, connection, and humanity even in the most public, high-pressure environments. If you've been following this saga, you already know this isn't just another viral moment. It's a conversation about vulnerability, masculinity, and how fame magnifies every emotion. Moments like Cenat's breakdown and NBA YoungBoy's thoughtful response remind us that behind every clip, there's a real person experiencing real pain. If you want more in-depth breakdowns like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the full story. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think. Did YoungBoy handle it the right way? Could Kai have done anything differently? And if you believe empathy and understanding should matter as much as clicks and views, share this video to spread the message. By supporting this channel, you're helping us go beyond surface-level gossip to deliver context, insight, and stories that actually matter. Stay tuned. There's plenty more drama and lessons ahead.